The illusion of safety begins to crack in this scene, like a thin layer of ice over dark water. It starts with something small, an ordinary evening in the Larson household. The children are tucked into bed, their rooms bathed in the soft glow of nightlights. Downstairs, Mary sips tea at the kitchen table, the house silent except for the occasional settling of old wood. Then, faint but unmistakable, a child's giggle ripples through the air. Mary pauses, her cup halfway to her lips. The sound is playful, innocent, but wrong. Both Emily and Ben are asleep. She checked on them minutes ago. She climbs the stairs, her footsteps muffled by the carpet, and peers into their rooms. Emily is curled under her blankets, breathing deeply. Ben lies sprawled in the way only children do, one arm dangling off the bed. Nothing is out of place. She tells herself it must have been the wind, or the house playing tricks. Old homes have their quirks, after all. But the next morning, over bowls of cereal, Ben tilts his head and asks, "Who was the girl in my room last night?" The question lands like a stone in still water. Mary's spoon clinks against her bowl. "What girl?" she asks, forcing lightness into her voice. Ben shrugs. "The one who stood by my closet. She was smiling." John, flipping through the newspaper at the counter, chuckles. "Probably just a dream, buddy." But Mary doesn't laugh. She remembers the giggle, the way it seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Later, while Ben plays in the yard, she searches his room. No toys could have made that figure. No shadows from the street lamp outside cast quite that shape. Then, as she turns to leave, she notices something. The closet door, which she's sure she closed, is slightly ajar. Inside, the faintest scent lingers, not the musty smell of old clothes, but something sweet and powdery, like forgotten perfume. That night, Mary lies awake, listening. The house is too quiet. Then, just as she's about to drift off, a whisper-thin hum vibrates through the walls, so low it's almost felt rather than heard. It comes from Emily's room. By the time Mary rushes in, the sound is gone. Emily sleeps peacefully, but the air is colder there, as if something had just left. The terror shifts from whispers and shadows to something irreversible in this scene, the moment the house finally takes one of them. It begins with an ordinary afternoon. Emily bounds up the stairs after school, her backpack thumping against her shoulder as she calls out that she's going to play in her room. Mary nods absent-mindedly from the kitchen, stirring a pot on the stove. The clock ticks. The house breathes. Dinner comes, and Mary calls for Emily. No response. She calls again, louder this time, irritation edging her voice. When silence answers, she wipes her hands on a dish towel and climbs the stairs, expecting to find Emily lost in a book or a game. But the door to Emily's room is slightly open, the light off. "Emily?" Mary flicks the switch. The room is empty. Not just empty, still. The air is thick, as if frozen in time. Emily's dolls sit neatly on the shelf, her schoolbooks stacked on the desk. The bed is made, untouched. It's as if she never entered the room at all. Mary's pulse kicks into a gallop. She checks under the bed, in the closet, behind the curtains. Places too small for a 10-year-old to hide, but she looks anyway. Then she runs through the house, calling Emily's name, her voice rising with each unanswered shout. John joins the search, his calm facade cracking as they scour the backyard, the basement, the garage. Nothing. The police are called. Officers move through the house with flashlights, peering into crawl spaces and asking questions that have no answers. Was she upset? Any signs of a break-in? The absurdity of it hangs in the air. How does a child vanish from a locked house in broad daylight? That night, as John and Mary sit numbly at the kitchen table, A sound drifts down from upstairs, a faint, familiar giggle. Emily's laugh. They bolt up the stairs, hope and dread warring in their chests, but the hallway is dark and silent. Then Ben's small voice pipes up from his doorway. I saw Emily. She was in the hall, but then she went into the wall. His words land like a death sentence. The disappearance of Emily shatters the fragile illusion of normalcy, and now the house itself begins to twist around the Larsons, not just hiding its secrets but actively playing with them. The police leave, their flashlights and notepads useless against a horror that defies logic. The officers exchange uneasy glances before stepping back into the night, leaving John and Mary alone in the hollow silence of their home. The moment the door closes behind them, the house seems to exhale, its walls pressing in closer, its shadows growing teeth. That night, as Mary lies rigid in bed, her ears straining for any sound, she hears it, a faint, rhythmic knocking from inside Emily's bedroom wall. Not random, not the settling of pipes, but deliberate. Tap, 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 like small fingers drumming against wood. John rushes in with a flashlight, pressing his ear to the plaster, and for a moment, the knocking stops, as if whatever is inside is listening back. Then, impossibly, a child's whisper. Mommy? Mary's breath catches. It's Emily's voice. John grabs a hammer from the toolbox, his hands shaking as he swings at the wall, splintering drywall and tearing away insulation. But behind it there's only empty space, dusty beams, and a single small handprint in the dust, too fresh to have been left by construction workers years ago. Meanwhile, Ben wakes screaming. He swears he saw Emily standing at the foot of his bed, her nightgown glowing faintly in the dark. She was crying, he whimpers. She said she couldn't find the way back. The next morning, the house mocks them. Mary opens a kitchen cabinet to find Emily's favorite hair ribbon neatly coiled next to the coffee mugs. John stumbles upon her stuffed rabbit perched on his workbench in the garage, its fur damp as if clutched by sweaty hands. The house is giving her back to them, piece by piece, but never the girl herself. Then, the worst moment. Mary walks past the hallway mirror and freezes. Reflected behind her, just for a flicker, is Emily, not ghostly but solid, real, her face twisted in fear. She's mouthing something. Help me. By the time Mary whirls around, the hallway is empty. The house no longer hides its malevolence. It strips away the Larsons' sanity methodically, like peeling back layers of skin. What began as whispers and fleeting glimpses escalates into a psychological siege where reality itself unravels at the seams. John and Mary are no longer searching for their daughter. They are hunting something far more sinister. Their faces grow gaunt, eyes ringed with purple exhaustion as they tear through the house like feral animals. The once pristine walls are now gouged with holes, the floors littered with splintered wood and shredded insulation. They find things in the wreckage. A child's sock wedged behind a baseboard, a tiny fingernail embedded in a door frame. Each discovery is a fresh wound. Mary spends hours kneeling in Emily's room, pressing her ear to the walls, convinced she can hear her daughter breathing on the other side. Sometimes she swears she feels warmth radiating from the plaster, as if a living thing pulses inside. Other times, the wall is ice cold and something scratches back, long, slow drags of fingernails that raise goosebumps on her arms. John, once rational, now carries a hammer like a weapon. He smashes through closets, rips up floorboards, and even attacks the chimney, convinced there's a hidden space where Emily is trapped. His hands bleed, but he doesn't stop. The house rewards his frenzy with cruel glimpses, a flash of Emily's dress in the periphery of his vision, the sound of her laughter drifting up from the basement. When he follows it, he finds only a single red hair tie dangling from a nail, swinging gently, as if just dropped. Then the hallucinations begin. Mary sees Ben standing at the top of the stairs, his back to her. When she calls his name, he turns, but his face is smooth, featureless, like a mannequin. She screams, and in the blink of an eye, he's normal again, crying, asking why she's scared of him. John, meanwhile, wakes to find Mary gone from their bed. He searches the house, only to discover her standing in the backyard in her nightgown, facing the woods. When he grabs her shoulder, she whirls around. But it's not Mary. It's a woman he's never seen, her mouth sewn shut with black thread. He stumbles back, and suddenly it's Mary again, confused, asking why he's looking at her like that. The breaking point comes when they hear Emily singing. It's her voice, clear as day, drifting from the attic. They race up the stairs, hope surging, but the door is locked. They pound on it, screaming her name, until the singing stops. Then, from the other side, a new sound, a wet, guttural rasp, like something choking on its own breath. The doorknob rattles from the inside, and they flee. The Larsons have become ghosts in their own home, hollowed out by grief and terror, their once solid reality now as thin as the walls that whisper to them. The house has won, and now it demands the last of them. It begins with Ben. Mary watches, helpless, as her son presses his small hands against the hallway wall, his fingers splayed over the peeling wallpaper. "She's in there," he murmurs, his voice distant, dreamlike. Emily says it's nice. She says we can come home. Before Mary can grab him, Ben pushes, and the wall gives. Not like broken drywall, but like parting flesh. A black seam splits open, exhaling a breath of damp, earthy air. Ben turns back only once, his eyes glassy, and whispers, "Don't be scared, Mommy." Then he steps into the dark. Mary's scream brings John running, but by the time he reaches the hallway, the wall is solid again. No crack, no trace of Ben, just a single tiny handprint, fading as if absorbed by the house. What follows isn't grief. It's something worse. Certainty. The house has shown them where their children went. Now it's only a matter of following. That night, the house offers its final invitation. John and Mary lie in bed, not sleeping, not speaking, just waiting. Then the humming starts, the same sound they heard before Emily vanished. It pulses through the walls, vibrating in their teeth, their bones. The closet door creaks open on its own. Inside, the back panel is gone, replaced by a tunnel of knotted wood and wet, glistening pipes, like the throat of some great beast. They don't hesitate. Hand in hand, they crawl into the dark. The passage is warm, alive, contracting around them as they move deeper. The air smells of childhood things, crayons, birthday cake, the faint perfume of Mary's mother. Then, ahead, a light, golden, flickering like a candle. They hear laughter, their children's laughter. They scramble toward it, weeping, desperate. For one glorious moment, they see them. Emily and Ben, whole and smiling, bathed in that impossible light. The children stretch out their hands, and the house swallows the Larsons whole. The house stands silent under the pale morning sun, its windows dark and vacant, its porch swing creaking gently in the breeze. The Larsons are gone, not just missing, but erased. Neighbors notice the stillness first. No lights flicker on in the evenings. No laughter drifts from the backyard. The mail piles up in the box, spilling over with unopened bills and flyers. A concerned neighbor finally calls the police, and when officers arrive, they find the front door unlocked, swinging open with a long, mournful groan. Inside, the house is spotless. No holes in the walls, no smashed furniture, no signs of struggle. The kitchen smells of fresh coffee, though the pot is cold and empty. Upstairs, the children's beds are neatly made, their toys arranged as if waiting for their return. In Emily's room, a single drawing lies on the desk, a crayon sketch of a family standing in front of a house, their smiles too wide, their eyes black dots. The house in the drawing has a door, and the door is open. The police search the property, the neighborhood, the town. They interview friends, teachers, relatives, but there are no leads, no evidence, no logical explanation. The Larsons have vanished without a trace, joining the list of families who once lived in this house and were never seen again. Then the rumors begin. A mail carrier swears she saw Mary Larson standing in an upstairs window days after the disappearance, waving, but not at her, at something behind her. A group of teenagers dare each other to touch the front door at midnight. One claims the wood pulsed under his fingertips like a heartbeat. The house goes up for sale, but the realtor refuses to enter alone, insisting she hears footsteps following her through empty rooms. Months pass. The for sale sign grows weathered, tilting into the overgrown grass. Then one evening, a new family pulls into the driveway, a young couple with a baby in tow. They step onto the porch, admiring the charming facade, the blooming hydrangeas, the warm glow of the porch light that shouldn't be on. As the realtor fumbles with the keys, the baby giggles, reaching toward the upstairs window. Inside, for just a second, a shadow moves. The story opens with a warm, inviting glimpse into the lives of the Larson family, John, Mary, and their two children, Emily and Ben. They've just moved into a charming, slightly aged house in a peaceful suburban neighborhood, the kind of place that promises a fresh start. The early scenes paint a picture of domestic bliss, the children laughing as they explore their new rooms, Mary unpacking boxes in the sunlit kitchen, and John admiring the sturdy oak tree in the backyard. The house itself seems welcoming, with its creaky wooden floors and vintage details, as if it had been waiting for them. But beneath this idyllic surface, there are faint traces of unease. The neighbors, though friendly, exchange glances when asked about the previous owners. They left in a hurry, one admits, but no one can or will explain why. The realtor had been unusually eager to close the deal, brushing off questions about the home's history with a tight smile. The first subtle signs of something wrong appear almost like tricks of the mind. Mary swears she hears a child's laughter when both Emily and Ben are fast asleep. John finds a door slightly ajar that he's certain he closed. A cold draft slithers through the house even on the warmest days. At first, these moments are dismissed. Old houses settle, imagination wanders, and children say strange things. Then comes Ben's innocent question at breakfast. Who was the girl in my room last night? Mary freezes. There was no girl. The scene lingers on the parents' exchanged glance, a silent agreement to rationalize it away. Kids have wild imaginations after all, but the seed of doubt is planted. The camera, if this were a film, might pull back slowly, framing the house from the outside, as if it's watching them, waiting. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.